Hey everybody, this is Caitlyn Elizabeth here, and I am here with...
Showkati, aka FutureFoe.
Oh my gosh. And it's actually quite fitting today because we're going to be talking about a lot of Destiny.
Yes.
Like, all of it. Because
Yes.
there's some really big expansions coming. As someone who has played about 2 years worth of this game, I still feel like I don't know anything. So
Yeah, and it's been an interesting experience playing it with you.
yeah, it's so much. I feel like so much has happened because this game came out in 2014, right?
That's right. Well,
And
Destiny 1, yeah.
Destiny 1. Yeah, so Destiny 1 came out. We're on Destiny 2. There's this big content thing coming that's beyond light. But for people who are coming in right now, it's kind of like a mishmash of like, wait, where do I begin? What has happened? What is going on? Like, someone
Yeah.
tell me what's happening. So
Loud noises.
loud noises. So I wanted to sit down with Mr. FutureFoe himself and get kind of the state of Destiny, what's happening, and what can we look forward to. So kind of take us through from 2014 up to now.
2014 up to now. Okay, let's do that in 30 seconds.
Yes,
Ready?
go.
No. Essentially, Bungie is a development studio. They originally made Halo way back when, and they were partnered with Microsoft, and that might be a little relevant in a little bit. When the Xbox debuted with Halo. They essentially partnered with Bungie, and then eventually ended up buying them, and they basically became the Halo machine. So they made Halo 2 and then Halo 3, and by the end of Halo 3, like a month after its release, they announced that they'll be parting ways with Microsoft and they're going to go as an independent company again. As sort of like a last parting gift or whatever, Bungie partnered with them on Halo Reach, sort of like their swan song of Halo as they exited that world. And I think it's one of the most beautiful Halo games, just in general, as far as like the music, the tone, the story, all that stuff. It's really cool.
Like, they put the most effort in there.
Yeah, it has a lot of heart. It's really somber, and it's kind of like bittersweet in that sense, knowing that it's like the last Bungie Halo game. So if you ever get a chance to play Halo Reach, you don't have to. If it doesn't, it's sort of like a prequel game to the Halo, so it's sort of it's its own contained story, and you might dig it. Kind of gives you a peek behind the sort of Bungie storytelling.
Bungie curtain of how they do things.
Exactly. What they wanted to do was to part ways and to create Destiny. It started as an idea. It was going to be like more of a fantasy game, like with actual like wizards and magic and demons and things like that.
I mean, that's kind of there, but
That's the thing, yeah. But they say that the call of sci-fi, they couldn't resist it. So
fair.
One of my favorite things is the description of the visual style of Destiny, which is mythic sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of keeping that regal, knight armor, plated sort of armor look and feel, but it's, laser guns and space magic.
Yeah. Yep. That's a very accurate description.
Yeah, it's a very unique visual style. One of my draws to that game is definitely the visual style.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like zombie space wizards.
Yeah. 2014, Destiny comes out, and to some mixed reception. It's not what people expected, and it didn't, have all the content that people were hoping for. Essentially, there's a lot of sort of like, there was a little bit of drama behind the scenes during development. And they kind of had to start over from scratch.
Whoa.
During a certain point, like within like a year before the game was released. So they kind of they had this like broken mess of a game. They had to kind of put these pieces together however they could. And what we got was their best effort, which I really enjoyed, and I still was drawn to it. But yeah, I mean, if you were expecting like Halo, it just wasn't to that scale.
It's not that.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't that at that time at the beginning, where people were, even, and that's the thing. It's like, it was their expectations that they set. They kept saying it's their next Halo. Can we bottle up that lightning one more time? I don't know. Let's find out. Like that was their terminology before the game came out. So there's high expectations for this game.
I mean, I feel that they delivered on a lot of things, but yeah, it's not the same lightning in a bottle, but
right. Now, of note is that this is the beginning of a partnership that they made with Activision to be their publisher for Destiny, because they're just a development company. They're not a publisher at this point.
Right.
So Activision, has their sort of agenda with kind of how they run and how they release their games, and you can kind of feel that they try to apply that as much as possible to Destiny, as far as like making it this big AAA, grand, cinematic, blow out your speakers, your neighbor's going to complain how epic and loud this game is and how action-packed it is. And that's not what Destiny is, and that's never been what Destiny is, and that I think that was kind of part of the beginning of the end, was sort of like
put them at odds.
Around like 2017, 2018 was where you could see the divergence of like visions from the game. You can really see it, and we'll get to that in a second, but their plan was to have a 10-year game that Destiny would maintain for 10 years. So their publishing deal was 10 years long, and Destiny was planned to be a 10-year franchise that would be across 4 releases, Destinies 1 through 4. They would be in 2013, 2015, 2017, and 2019. Those were the original dates.
Wow.
And in the odd years, they would have major expansions like The Taken King, Forsaken, Shadowkeep. Those are like those major expansions. Mm-hmm. Those would be in the in-between years. And then they were, on top of that, in between those, they would be supplemented with DLCs, like DLC expansion packs, just like you see. You don't really see them nowadays as prevalently, but like a few years ago, it was the hot thing to see like a $35 DLC pack. I mean, you still see it quite a bit these days.
Oh, yeah.
But that was, and it didn't really go over well because that content just sort of wasn't still there for people.
Yeah.
And so Destiny 1 kind of went through some dry spells of content, love and hate. Like The Taken King in 2015, I remember that essentially I think is what saved the Destiny franchise. If The Taken King wasn't well received, I don't think we would be saying a Destiny game. Like Destiny 2, I don't think would have happened.
Oh, geez.
It was the first year of Destiny was rough, like the reception of it. Destiny,
just because they weren't delivering on what people expected out of it.
Right, and not only that, but and still to this day, they're still very secretive. They play their cards very close to the chest, and whether it's just a sort of marketing tactic or whether it was, their partnership with Activision and Activision having a little bit of control over that narrative, that Bungie would have.
Yeah.
They essentially, couldn't really get out there and explain to people what was going on. So it was just kind of silence from their end for a long time.
Do you think that that's helped them or hurt them?
It was hurting them then. The nice thing is that Bungie's got nothing but more and more transparent over time. And right now they're in the best place that they've ever been. And that has to do with just how transparent they're becoming. And not only that, but having a grasp, I think, over their vision for the game finally. And it's something that I feel like that's been missing ever since they had to kind of rehash Destiny 1. It was, I think, there is when they lost any kind of vision that they had for like the overarching tenure of Destiny, and they had to find that. And it took them a few years. It took them through the launch of Destiny 2, I think, to find that. And it wasn't just until a couple of years ago that we got a real sense. And kind of to give you kind of like an intro point into what Destiny is, if you were like, what is Destiny? And this is what game director Luke Smith has said multiple times. It's his vision for the game, and I think this is sort of what's going to keep them on track for the next few years. And that is that Destiny is an action MMO in a single evolving world that you can play anytime, anywhere with your friends.
I feel that that's pretty apt.
Yeah.
But not,
you can see,
not fully encapsulates what I've experienced in it.
Right. You can see the vision is there, the intent is there, but the vision has yet to be fully realized. And that's that's what's driving them forward, is this sort of mantra, if you will.
Yeah, they want to get the execution the way that they want it, but I think they were maybe at odds with Activision first.
Exactly. And that was back in, I have the date here. What was it? January 10th, 2019.
Oh.
Is when they split from Activision. So just a few months after the Forsaken release in 2018, which was Destiny 2's first expansion.
And the schedule that you mentioned earlier is completely off, right?
Yeah, so not only was it off by a year, because Destiny 1 came out the year after
right.
That it was supposed to, Destiny 2 got delayed a year in on itself. So Destiny 1 actually ended up having a 3-year life cycle.
Oh.
And so what they did was they sort of put together a smaller major expansion, and that kind of gave content to the third year, while they kind of bought time to finish up Destiny 2, essentially. They basically bought themselves one more year. And so that kicked Destiny 2 down into 2017 as we saw it release. And the idea was that if they were still with Activision, if everything was going fine, this fall is when we would be seeing Destiny 3.
Oh.
So that is sort of, that's what they've been working on. And the split is when I believe they decided to not do Destiny 3 and to maintain Destiny 2 for 3 more years.
Oh.
So if you think of Destiny as like a trilogy, right? Like Destiny 1 is 3 years long. Destiny 2, we've had it now. It's almost been 3 years. It'll be 3 years in a couple months here. And Destiny 3 would have been 3 more years, theoretically. But instead, we're getting 3 more years of Destiny 2. So Destiny 2 is going to be a 6-year game.
Oh my.
Destiny
Whoa.
1, a 3-year game. So that's kind of like a weird trilogy without having to put another number on the box, so to speak, is what sort of they said. Because they don't want to divide the community. They don't want the game to go dark. Because I don't know, I haven't looked, but I don't know how many players are playing Destiny 1 anymore. It's probably not looking too good over there.
And that's kind of a confusing thing for me, because I'm like, all of these things, I guess because when they say MMO, my brain is like, there is not, like, I'm thinking in World of Warcraft terms.
Exactly.
I'm thinking it's this big open world. There are expansions that come, but it's not like a completely separate thing. So Destiny 1 is a completely different thing than Destiny 2.
So you are describing the exact clash of ideals between Activision and Bungie. The result is what you're seeing in front of you. And that is because Activision wanted 4 title releases. They wanted 4 action blockbuster. Like, think of like Transformers 1 through 4. They wanted that.
Oh. Yeah, that's not what this is, though.
4 major games. Just like Call of Duty. We went to E3 in 2018. And we saw that Activision display. It was Call of Duty right next to Destiny. Both AAA titles. Look at our duo. We're ready to go. Same thing. I saw the same thing in a Best Buy. They had the exact same display, like miniature version of it out at NCAP, where half of it was Destiny, half of it was Call of Duty. I was like, this is really interesting.
They were trying
to push this.
To equate them as the same thing, but just slightly catering the audience to more like, this is army fighting and this is magic sci-fi.
They were even exploring esports. They were trying to get the competitive aspects of the game to like an esports kind of route.
I can definitely feel that part.
Yeah.
In the game, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that didn't take off, and nothing ever came from it, because that's not the kind of game it is. It's not an esports game.
Yeah.
It's a PvE
not at all.
game. It's a PvE game that has a PvP mode.
Yeah.
And that's always what it's going to be.
And because again, my brain is thinking like World of Warcraft. There was PvP zones, and it's PvE, and you like, I go out of my way to not do PvP because I don't spend a lot of time there, so I'm never good in it. So that feels like the wrong focus, and you're saying that's all Activision, basically.
Exactly. And so what we saw with Shadowkeep and with the plan for the future, which we'll touch on, is we see them, kind of embracing that single evolving world. That's in their thing that they keep saying over and over again, that single evolving world, not multiple. And And so they want it to be this single platform. And the idea would be, in a perfect world, they would have like a fresh start, right? And be like, okay, well, let's build a brand new platform and build the perfect sort of MMO that we can do for 10 more years from now, you know. But instead, I think they're making what I'm ultimately seeing as a better decision, and that's to keep Destiny 2's lights on. But there's things that they're doing to make that I think it'll feel like a completely new game when it comes out in the fall. It'll feel like Destiny 3, I think.
So Destiny 2 is going to be around for 3 more years. And
that's right.
Eventually there's going to be a Destiny 3.
So that part we don't know about yet.
Okay.
That's sort of the big question mark. What we've seen is, let's go through the releases. So we've got Destiny 2 Beyond Light. That's the next major expansion. It'll be starting off the 4th year of Destiny 2. It's going to bring new darkness powers for the first time. The narrative is going to go
very exciting.
Dark on us. That's going to be very cool. It's manifesting as ice. And essentially, there's a lot of people are kind of confused, like, why is darkness ice? Well, it's like, why is light, electricity? It's a flavor. There is a lore answer, and that is that we're using our light to control those elements, or those like fundamental forces of the universe. And there's some force of the universe that we need darkness to control.
Oh,
like
okay. So it's like very
stasis.
yin and yang of some elements are associated with light, some elements are associated with dark.
Essentially, yeah. So that's why you're saying, because when you think of darkness powers, you're like, ooh, I'm going to have like black goop coming out of my hands or whatever, or like clouds and stuff. And it's like, no, it's ice, but it looks awesome. I can't wait. But like the particle effects look incredible.
Oh.
So that's coming. That's 2021. Or no, it's 2020. 2021, they've also announced is going to be Destiny 2, The Witch Queen. So that's going to be very exciting because it's going to be finally exploring a villain of the Destiny universe. Her name is Savathun. She is the Witch Queen, the sister of the Taken King, who is Oryx from a storyline that was explored in Destiny 1's The Taken King. So she's back and she's mad that we killed her brother. I guess.
I mean, that's kind of a fair reason to be upset.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And the cool thing about that is that game is coming out in 2021, and that'll be going through, the story of that will be continuing through into 2022 with the seasonal model. And so, but we're getting like stuff now. So it's kind of like a Thanos MCU type situation where we're seeing like her pop up now in the story.
Oh.
But her expansion isn't like down the line, like a year and a half, 2 years from now, whatever it is. So that's kind of cool.
So
they're starting to build a kind of a world, a universe, sort of.
Yeah, and they're going out of their way to make extra content to be like, hey, it's real within this world and not just something we're plopping on your head. Right.
And then Lightfall is coming after that, which is a third major expansion. And Luke Smith, the game director, quote during the presentation said, and it's going to drive everything to a moment, whatever that means.
Oh.
So we don't know if that means that Destiny 2 is then going to be over.
Oh.
We don't, or all of Destiny, like is it the sort of end of the franchise? Is it that moment? Is it the moment where we go to Destiny 3? We don't know what that looks like yet.
Well, and is that the point where, like, is Destiny 3 finally going to be the full MMO that they wanted?
That's true. And that's sort of what we're seeing now. Like, with Beyond Light, not only are we getting darkness powers, but it's also going deeper into the RPG elements of it. So that subclass is going to be like a much deeper and more sort of min-maxy sort of subclass where we can go in and tweak your stuff, as opposed to the current subclasses, which are kind of like these focused paths that you just kind of like switch A, B, or C.
Right.
And that's it. So they're adding more and more MMO stuff. The bigger thing with this is kind of to your point of like players being confused, they're kind of using this as an opportunity to kind of redo that new player experience. One of the ways they're doing it is by bringing back one of the most beloved destinations in Destiny 1, which is Earth's Cosmodrome, which is kind of like a shipyard, like a space shipyard in Russia. That destination is going to be coming back with Beyond Light. So Beyond Light's going to bring a new destination, Europa, which is Jupiter's moon, icy moon. And then we're going to have also Earth, a new Earth destination, a second destination on Earth.
So, and for new players that are coming in, like you're talking about destinations coming in and going away, and I'm sure that you have lovely visual representations of the directory, but like for someone, let's say they're coming into Destiny 2 right now, like what are they missing if they don't play Destiny 1 first? And if they haven't played up to this point?
So that's a really good question, because Destiny 1, it's interesting because you can definitely purchase Destiny 1 still, and you can go play the campaigns, and you can continue to play the game online. It's still a supported game in the sense that it's online and has servers. So if you really want to experience the full story, you can definitely go play that. You can also watch like cutscenes, which might not give you the full experience. The thing is, like, Destiny 1's story is kind of a mess. There's not really a through line of narrative, really. There's kind of like little pockets of stories. And a lot of it is on like lore cards that you have to go to like Bungie.net to read. What I would recommend is just to play Destiny 2, and I think their aim is to give you a better like new player experience.
So they're gonna wrap up everything for people that didn't play Destiny 1, have missed out on the things up to this point, and they're gonna like give you enough information that you don't need to worry about having missed out up to now.
Yeah. What I think they're gonna do, well, what they are doing is they're removing a pretty good chunk of the planets and like the destinations that are in the game right now. They're being removed from the game mainly because the game is getting a little too large for them to really manage.
It's pretty big.
It's like over 100 gigs, and I know games can be larger, but for them, it's
Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, right. It's such an undertaking for them to patch the game on a regular basis like that.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that.
There's more to it, I think, and I'll touch on that in a second. A little theory crafting, perhaps. They're taking these destinations and they're putting them into what they're calling the Destiny Content Vault. And this vault is made up of everything that they have ever made that isn't in the game, that isn't in Destiny 2 right now. So all of Destiny 1, all of the destinations and activities, and then what we're going to find out here in a second is these Destiny 2 activities, they're also going to be putting those into that vault. Then the idea is every now and again, they'll reach in the vault, pull something classic and something beloved, shine it back up, bring it up into context of Destiny 2, and then put it back out for people to play.
Wow. This is feeling reminiscent of Disney.
Exactly. It's totally that.
Putting their stuff in the vault and taking the shiny thing and making it all fancy for what they have out right now.
So instead of the 9 destinations that they have currently, in the fall, this is going to go down to 7. So the ones that are going to be leaving is Mercury, Mars, Titan, and Io. Right now, today, if you boot up Destiny 2, right now in the story, those 4 planets are being invaded by the forces of darkness. Not to sound too ominous.
So, those are going to get exploded or something here pretty soon.
Yeah, so, but then they're going back in the vault, but if they get exploded, do they still go in the vault? That's my question. So essentially what they're doing is they're removing 4, they're adding 2. We're getting Europa and the new Earth, the second Earth destination. And I think it's going to maintain 7 moving forward. I don't think it's ever going to go up. They're going to remove 2 and add 2, I think, moving forward. And next year, I think they're going to be getting rid of the Tangled Shore, which is currently there. And then I think what we're getting with the Witch Queen is the destination that was for the Taken King, which is the Dreadnought. It's a giant, massive ship that's still in the game, floating between Saturn's rings. If you look up, if you're playing the game in Titan and you look up at Saturn, you can see the ship floating between the rings.
Yeah.
I think that destination is going to be pulled back out of the vaults in 2021, and then whatever the destination is for the actual Witch Queen stuff, which might be like her ship or something like that. It'd be kind of cool. I think that they might do like a twin ship kind of situation, bringing in the two destinations, a classic one that's been refurbished and then a new one, and kind of play off of them, together. That'd be kind of cool because they'll be literal brother sister destinations. And then Lightfall, they'll take 2 more out and put 2 more in. Maybe the Dreaming City, because at that point it'll be kind of like 3 years removed from that storyline. I think they'll do something narratively to wrap up that city, because the city's cursed. So maybe they'll like lift the curse finally, and they'll just show it pristine for like a few weeks, and then it'll be gone forever. That would be kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe have it pristine and clean for the summer, like some summer event, and then you sunset that destination and it's gone.
A beautiful send-off, bittersweet. There's a lot of destination juggling.
Yeah, but it's to maintain the simplicity, because they're also removing the content associated with it. So all the strikes, the missions.
Do you think that's like taking away from the game though, to like add and take away destinations and?
That's a great question.
And maps and stuff.
Yeah. So the thing we haven't gone over yet is one of the first acts of Bungie being an independent publisher, which we also didn't go over, but they're split with Activision. They didn't go find another publisher. They just became their own publisher. That was kind of like their move.
Right.
And their first big act is to make the game free to play. So Destiny 2 is free to play technically right now, the base game. And their ideology with it is they're only going to vault the stuff that they've determined to be free. So what we want to do is, and the stuff that they are vaulting right now has been free for a very long time. You can go to all these planets, you can play these campaigns, they're all free. So if you want to catch up on Destiny 2 before these destinations are gone, hint, hint, you can do that.
So, and kind of a side thing is like, so I'm sure that a lot of people were mad that they paid for base game Destiny 2 and all of a sudden it's free to play. Yeah. And then there are all these expansions. And I know there's like, you can pay monthly to get stuff. There's like so many different entry points for this. It's like, how do you, as someone who's brand new, how do you come into this game?
Yeah.
If you just want to do free to play, and what are you missing out on if you're not paying for something?
So free to play, like think of a game like Fortnite. It's more of a very casual jump in, play with your friends. There's no story. There's no, I just want to shoot some guys, and I want to laugh about it with my friends because he tripped weird after he died, whatever.
Right.
That's what I'm interested in. That's what Destiny 2, the base, is aiming for, in a sense, partially.
Just like a thing you can play with your friends.
So,
and that's like your nightcap for the day.
Which is kind of what we did, right? As a group, we downloaded way back when. We downloaded Gambit. They basically let you, like I think Forsaken was going to be coming out in a couple weeks, and that was going to bring Gambit, but they brought Gambit a couple weeks early, and made it free for everybody to try. And so that's what we did. So we downloaded Destiny 2 because I think we all owned it. At that point, it wasn't free. But Gambit was free, so we played it. That's kind of what they want. They want somebody that can download this game, and within 15 minutes, like do some intro mission that's like 15 minutes long, and then at that point, you're ready to jump into the Crucible, into the PvP, the PvP scene, or jump into Gambit, or if you want, you can just go explore Earth and do some of those adventures and some of those story missions. That's they kind of want it to be this sort of smorgasbord of things to do, and like ultimately don't worry about leveling up, don't worry about, finding the best gear, don't worry about raiding or endgame. It's more just kind of get in there and have some fun, and you'll pick up on some of these systems and you'll see if it's a game that you want to invest more time in. If it's something that becomes, if you're enjoying, your progression and you kind of at a certain point, you kind of understand the rhythm of, like with any RPG, right? You understand the rhythm of what the progression looks like at a certain point, and you're kind of like, okay, I can get behind this. This can be fun. I can see this scaling pretty well, and you kind of make that decision for yourself, and that's kind of what they've done is they've given you this sort of step ladder approach where you can be like, okay, I'm going to start with the free stuff. Then if I want some of the flashy bits and I want to maybe play some of the relevant missions of like what's happening right now in the season, that's when I can get the season pass for $10 for that season. And I can enjoy a bunch of the extra content, as well as like they have this like battle pass thing where you can unlock rewards every level, get new loot, get different loot.
So the $10 you're talking about, is that like it's open for a month and then it's gone, or is it?
Their seasons are about 3 months, and essentially what'll happen is when let's say you miss season 12, so you want to jump into season 13. When you purchase season 13, it'll essentially get you all the content of season 12 as well, and all the seasons before it are yours as well.
Like it's up to this
exactly
point.
Because some of the things might not be available anymore, like some of the loot might be gone, so it's sort of, even if you could pay for it, currently with the current model, I know they're making some adjustments to it, but with the current model, if you wanted to pay for it, you would literally get nothing because those things aren't in the game anymore from like a few seasons ago.
Whoa. So if you were to like brand new player coming in just for the free stuff, if you were to like pie chart that of like PvP, adventuring, and I forget the third thing you said.
Was it Gambit? Yeah.
Yes. So if you were to like pie chart the amount of content for each of these things, what do you like? What does that look like?
Your PvE content is going to be the king. It's going to have significantly more content than the other two. PvP is PvP, right? They're just kind of like death matches, and you play it over again. There's a pretty good number of maps. I'd say about a dozen or so, I think, are in rotation actively at any time.
Oh wow!
And game types, there's a good handful of different game types, whether you want to be competitive or more casual. So that's PvP. And Gambit has a handful of maps, has a couple modes. They haven't been given Gambit much love lately, which I'm kind of sad about because I really like that mode. And I hope they give us some new stuff for Gambit with Beyond Light. But that's kind of like a hybrid mode. So it's an objective-based team mode where it's like team versus team, but you're kind of in competition. You're not really in the same arena together. You're both doing the same objective to see who can do it first. And you're collecting these sort of motes that drop from enemies that you kill. So you have to kill a bunch of dudes, pick up their motes, collect them into a bank, and then fight a boss at the end.
Shove them into a cylinder.
Exactly, right. And then when you have enough banked, you'll summon your boss, waste your boss, and then you win. If you can do that first, that's awesome. They hybrid it with PvP because every so often you can invade the other team as an actual player and go in and try to defeat them and make them drop their motes and try to make them, mess up on their boss and things like that. So it's got some of those sort of like fun elements in it as well. But if you're looking for like just the solid game, you're going to want to stick with the PvE stuff for a while probably. And those are the campaigns, the missions, the strikes. Strikes are really fun, really easy to play. You can kind of hop into a playlist, and it'll just kind of like play one after another, and you can just sit there and just experience.
It's kind of on shuffle.
Yeah, it's kind of experience all the different strikes on shuffle, essentially, which is kind of cool. As you play, you'll get gear. The game just kind of gives you gear, and a game is constantly leveling you up for you. You really don't have to do a ton of thinking at first, so that in that sense, it's sort of a little bit friendly. You'll pick up a gun that's like level 6, and then you'll pick up a gun that is like 12 damage or 18 damage, and you're like, oh, this is kind of like a neat progression, moving forward.
Yeah. It baits you with cool stuff.
Yeah, and then things get shinier and shinier as you go.
Mm-hmm. They definitely do.
So for the pie chart, it will probably be more like 70% PvE, and then 15% on the other two. I would recommend to do all 3 equally if you're new, just to kind of get a real good sense of that stuff, because you might end up really enjoying the PvP stuff. It just might get you. It might take a while for you to get adjusted to the game, like to the actual like controls, the mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
So don't rule out Crucible. A lot of new players like immediately rule out Crucible because they're very intimidated. They might get slaughtered. They can't get a single kill.
Hi, that's me.
Yeah. But Destiny has this really cool thing called the Iron Banner, which is actually going on right now as of the recording of this video. It's essentially their PvP tournament, but it's not really a tournament. It's just sort of like an event, and it introduces a new game mode and new rewards, which help you level up like pretty aggressively right now, which is nice. So they're definitely like worth your time. So I would say like for me, when I was playing, I wasn't really thinking much on PvP. I didn't really like it. But then because I needed the Iron Banner for the progression, like I needed it for the rewards that it had because it would level me up. I was kind of forced to play it in a sense, but it was kind of like exposure therapy for PvP. And I eventually kind of got over it, and I ended up finding out that I was kind of pulling off some cool moves and making some cool kills, and when those things happen, that kind of motivates you to
get a little addicted,
to kind of like, I can do that again. That was pretty cool. Like, let me do that better, or whatever it is.
I feel like those things are just like, this is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid, and then you get like one really cool move, and you're like, this is all right, I guess.
So I have a very aggressive play style, and I'm always challenging myself, like, no, I can close this distance between me and this guy. So what if there's a mile in between him? So what if he's shooting at me the entire time? I can hop and I can maneuver in such a way to where I would outflank him. Like, that's what drives me to play, in a sense, like in an overarching sense of Destiny, of like, I always want to make my skills and my control of the game better over time. Because if I can do that, then I can accomplish more of these like really difficult, activities on my own, and flawlessly, things like that.
So, and that's kind of a thing too of like, okay, so we're talking a lot about the new players, but what is there for after you're done being a new player? You've been around for a while. Like, what's the draw for you to stay in this game for, the next 3 years of Destiny 2?
It's going to be the things that they're starting to put more and more of into the game, and those are those like RPG, those deep RPG like MMO pulls, like min-maxing, building out different, because one thing you can do with your armor is apply different mods into the sockets. They have like a bunch of different sockets, and you can put different mods. So you can put mods that help you find certain kinds of ammo faster. You can find mods that get your grenade back to you faster. There's mods that are like so specific that they're like, if you do this very specific thing, it'll charge you up, and then that'll pair with another mod that says once you're charged up, it'll do this cool thing. So like, it's getting that deep and that sort of like min-maxy, flipping these switches, moving these sliders, and it's about kind of, to use their terminology, it's about crafting your ultimate monster killing machine.
Oh. It's letting you be a space wizard zombie superhero.
Exactly.
To your exact specifications.
It's Iron Man working on Mark 42. He's addicted. He's trying to make him better and better and better. And you have new ideas, and you pick up a new weapon that drops that has a perk that gives you an idea for a build, and you'll go out and you'll spend all your materials trying to craft this perfect build based off this one idea. And then when you pull that off and when it works, that gratification is amazing, So that's kind of your pull in the end game. Is it's going to challenge you to no end. There's activities in the game that are going to be higher than the power that majority, like 99% of players, will not achieve this level, but this activity is at this level. So it's like 20 power higher than anyone can get.
Oh my God.
And it's going to break you.
Yeah, I feel like you've dragged me into a couple of those, and I was like, I'm nowhere near this.
Yeah, and that's just relative to where you were. Like, there's stuff in the game that are just like insane. Like, you can't even imagine. And there's things on top of that. There's even bigger pulls with these ultimate things, these things called seals. Seals are like the ultimate pinnacle of achievement in Destiny. Because what happens with a seal is when you unlock a seal, it'll also it'll grant you a title, and that title will be above your or below your name for everybody to see. To say, I got this.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's seals for every aspect of the game. So if you like PvP, there's a seal for that. If you like Gambit, there's a seal for that. If you like the lore of the game and collecting the lore pieces, there's a seal for that. If you like exploring and finding the little trinkets and things, there's a seal for that. So it's these things of like, I can get on these investment paths that reinforce the parts of the game that I like and let me achieve like the pinnacle of that, you know. And it's sort of like the game sort of respecting the player in the sense of like, yeah, I know you love Crucible, okay? Like, we get it. Here's a seal. We get it. Play Crucible. We want you to play it if you love it that much. But at the same time, it's really good recently at letting you control your own balance. So if you like to get in there. So for instance, I love Gambit. Every reset, you know, every Tuesday, this sort of game, the rewards of the game reset so you can earn your rewards again. And I love jumping into Gambit immediately first. Just because it's an excuse to play. I'm going to get the reward that I need, but I love Gambit, so I'm going to immediately jump into that.
And I just wanted to bring up, because like we've talked about so many things. You've got Gambit, you've got PvP, you've got PvE, you've got all these planets you're going to, you've got seals, you've got weapons and min-maxing those, you've got your gear and dealing with all of that, and like all the characters and slots, and like, yeah, it feels, as someone again who has played this game for 2 years casually, I have not deep dove into Destiny 2 in such a way where I fully understand things. I didn't even know I had a vault where I could store everything. I was just constantly tossing things out. But is there like, is there anything aside from just like getting more serious about figuring out how everything works, or do you think that they're going to try and make casual it up for people like me who don't pay all of the attention?
I think the game has a good balance of sort of investment paths and reward structures in place to address that exact thing. And like for me, I'm interested in a seal, right? I want that title above my head. Somebody else might not care or even know what a seal is, and that's fine.
Right.
To them, they just might want the cool armor. You know, they want to unlock the Sparrow. They want to get the cool cosmetics. You know, there's a lot of cosmetics in this game. There's a whole store behind it. You know, if you're into, you know, into that Fortnite sort of culture of like the free to play, but I'll support it with a little bit of money. This is that. This can be that. You know.
So to that casual player who just wants to come in and get the cool shinies and do the fun stuff, like what would your recommendation be for, you know, like not worrying about seals and everything else? Is like, what can you focus on so that you can have the most fun out of it while kind of putting on blinders for everything else so that you don't feel too overwhelmed?
So what I would do if I was a new player of Destiny is I would just play through the campaigns. That's where I would start, because the campaigns do a really good job of they actually do a pretty good job of laying out some of the story of the game in Destiny 2, especially the Red War campaign, the main one. Pick that one up and play that. It's very epic, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's a very well done campaign, and it teaches you the basics of kind of the game and the investment paths, and introduces you to gear, introduces you to your powers, and to the context of those powers, what they mean.
And those main campaigns, is that part of the free, or do you have to like pay for stuff to get that?
Yeah, those are part of the free. So you can play essentially all of year one's campaigns.
And you say year one of Destiny 2. Destiny 1 is like removed from this.
Right. Destiny 1 is a different disc, sadly.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. But that's their mission with the Vault, is to get away from that sort of like, you know, release AAA blockbusters and kind of pull some of that Destiny 1 content into Destiny 2 to kind of sort of,
bring them together.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of help ease the pain of that. So yeah, the Red War is one that's available right out the gate for free. You can play that, and you can play a couple of the other campaigns that came right alongside that inside of the first year, which is Curse of Osiris and Warmind. Curse of Osiris you could probably do without.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of tired of myself, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about it.
It was still, for me, it was a cool experience.
It's
like,
cool.
I'm
It's
not
quick.
sad
It's
that I
cool.
did it.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it is worth it because it's sort of like a couple short missions, and then it kind of essentially bakes the 2 strikes into the campaign. So you're playing a couple strikes and you're playing a few missions, so it's not so bad. So yeah, go ahead and play it. And then
play the game.
Play
Have
the
fun,
game. Just play the game.
I
Have
guess.
fun. Warmind is pretty cool. That's another great campaign. It introduces you to Rasputin, our AI Warmind that's defending Earth.
That's a big laser computer man, right?
Big laser computer man, yeah.
Cool.
And that is, or just the Red War, or any combination of those things. And I think that's a great place to start. You'll come out of those campaigns with a pretty good amount of gear, with some good progression on your power level. You'll have some items. You'll have some quests that you've picked up from off the heels of that. And that kind of will start to introduce you to kind of like what the Endgame experience is like, in the sense that it kind of opens up and it kind of lets you go wherever you want. So do you want the coolest guns? Well, then you're going to want to go look for where all of the sort of exotic quests are, right? If you don't care about that, you want to just get better at PvP, you go do that part, If you want to unlock all of the rewards in the battle pass, that's based off of experience. So you want to just go, at that point, you can play anything you want. You can pick up bounties that give you a lot more experience, so you can focus on grinding out bounties. So it kind of really depends on what you like about the game. Exactly. What do you like about the game? What interests you about the game? There's probably an investment path to enforce you to continue playing that.
Do you feel like, because how I kind of feel with Destiny is that, when you go to those like open 24-hour diners and their menu is just so big. Mm-hmm. It has every type of food you could possibly imagine. There's like so many pages of options. Like, how do you kind of focus yourself when everything is given to you all at once? Mm-hmm. Like,
the answer.
I feel like it's so hard to choose because
is.
There's so much at your fingertips.
Yeah, and it's also the way that they lay it out. It's a big map with everything.
Yeah. It's all everything all at once.
There's no hierarchy of like what's more important than the other thing. There's not really a super. There's not really a visual guide. You kind of have to explore and kind of decode it on your own.
And for some people, cough, me, that feels very intimidating.
Yeah. Their answer last year was Destiny 2 New Light. So what they did was they brought the first mission of Destiny 1 into Destiny 2 as the first mission of Destiny 2. And then they drop you off at the tower. And from there, they slowly unlock the destinations one after another for you. Essentially, I think you have to touch down. I don't know if it's a certain amount of experience or if it's a certain amount of time, but then it'll unlock the next destination for you.
Right. I vaguely recall going through that.
That doesn't really solve anything that people have issues with.
That's fair.
It's still kind
That's
of
fair, because here we are with me asking these questions.
Right. It's like, well, you've unlocked the whole map, but it's still a lot of shit. So
yes,
their number one answer is to reduce the amount of content. So that's where we're seeing like 4 planets removed and 2 added, right? So we're going from 9 to 7. So there's fewer places. Those places are more relevant to the current systems, right? If you think of those launch planets, the only launch planet that's staying, aside from Earth, is Nessus, which I find curious. I don't know why Nessus is staying. But
I feel a plot point coming on.
I think I feel a plot point coming on as well. Yeah. I think, they're also bringing back a raid from Destiny 1 called the Vault of Glass.
All right.
That was set on Venus in Destiny 1, and they haven't talked about bringing back Venus, and I feel like nobody's really talked about that. So I'm like, are they bringing back Venus? I think they're going to use Nessus as like a portal to it.
Oh,
Because they've kind of they've done something like this before. They took a PvP map that was on Venus in Destiny 1 and they remade it in Destiny 2, taking place on Nessus. So it just kind of has the Nessus look, but it's the exact same like architecture and map. So I think that's their parody of Venus in Destiny 2 is Nessus. So I think that's why it's sticking around. So they're going to use, it's all Vexy and it's got those same Vex structures. A little bit of context. In Destiny 1, Venus was the big Vex place, just like Nessus is right now.
Because you've also got, I feel like there's just so much content with Destiny that it's like hard to keep track. Because you've also got all of your races of creatures, which we don't have to go into all of that because that's gonna be so many things. But like keeping track of who is who and what is what, and I feel like the campaigns give you that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be
but
interesting.
Then you're just like, why are you here?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what else they do, because I think they have some ideas, because one of the reasons they're bringing back that Earth destination is to kind of retell the origin story of Guardians. So I think we're going to get yet another version of New Light, in the sense of like, it'll be yet another beginning for new players, like with another new mission. And they mentioned it's something that veteran players can also play and experience. So that's going to be interesting. So it sounds like it's going to be brand new.
Oh, wow.
So that's...
I feel like
that'll
the brand new and like there's so many new things and starting it over and over and over again, that's where it feels like it's hard to get your bearings, because it's always kind of changing.
Right. Because the thing is, if you download the game right now, the game is going to look very different in November when Beyond Light comes out. So here's where I kind of want to talk about a little bit of theory crafting.
Okay. All right.
So we've talked about Beyond Light. It's coming out. We also talked about how it was originally going to be Destiny 3, but they decided to keep it as Destiny 2. They're removing destinations. There's also another hint. Right now, with this current season, they introduced a new dungeon activity called Prophecy, which is really fun, really cool looking. But it's going to be gone for a season. For some reason, they have to remove it from the game. And it's not... They kind of have said that they need to work on it for some reason. I have a theory. So now with that information, there's also the information that notoriously, one of the reasons that Bungie seems to be so far behind with content is that their tools apparently are very difficult to work with, and their engine is very difficult to develop for. So that has been slowing down their amount of content. But now when we look at what's coming with Beyond Light, Activision afforded them extra companies. They had Blue Moon and Vicarious Vision working on Destiny content for them back then. They don't have that anymore. They don't really have a robust development network, anymore as well as they used to. And now on top of that, they're also self-publishing, so they've got their hands full with that as well. But all of a sudden,
they're like pulling 3 jobs at once.
Right. All of a sudden, we're getting a lot of content. We're getting Europa, a brand new planet. We're getting the Cosmodrome back from Destiny 1. We're getting Vault of Glass back from Destiny 1. But they're getting rid of planets that are relevant, that are all this, putting it into the quote-unquote vault, which, by the way, I don't know if we're ever going to see the stuff that's going into the vault come back, whether or not the planets get destroyed. Let's say the planets don't get destroyed. Even then, I don't think we're going to see them come back, because when would they come back? Why would they come back?
That's a good point.
Why would you add 4 more planets to your game and bulk up your game again and make it confusing again? I think, one more factor into this theory before I even present it. Microsoft has partnered with Bungie in what I think is in a much more significant way than we realize. They made a big point of it during the Xbox game showcase that we just saw a little bit ago.
Right.
They were talking about how there's going to be a special version of the game. It's running 4K 60. Look how incredible this looks. And the game looked absolutely incredible running on the Xbox. And they've done things like congratulate each other on certain things over Twitter. I think essentially in some way, I think Bungie is either bolstering their development capabilities in some way, or what I think is that they're moving to a brand new game engine with Beyond Light. And they essentially made the new stuff that they made, and then they only ported over what they cared about. So what's left behind is the planets that are going into the quote-unquote vault. They're just being left behind. But they're making this shiny new platform, shiny new engine, and they just want to bring over one by one the pieces that are important to them. And they're testing things out, like bringing over the Cosmodrome from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2. And I think all of a sudden they can make content much easier and much quicker.
I mean, the content drop that we had not that long ago I was blown away. Everyone I talked to about Destiny was like, holy crap, did you see like how much stuff they just dropped?
Yeah.
And it felt like there has to be something happening on the back end for them to be able to do this out of nowhere after they don't have Activision. They became their own publisher. They don't have these other developers helping them out because they aren't with Activision anymore.
So my theory,
something has to be changing in the background.
My theory is because Prophecy is the latest piece of content they've developed that's been released. It is the last thing that they worked on. Probably the last thing they worked on the previous engine. They haven't had a chance to port it to the new engine. They need a season to do it. That's why it's not going to be in the game next season, because they need to port it to the new one. It's going to come back the season after. That's why I think it's going to be gone, is because it kind of fits all together, if you think about it. Like, if I'm right, then that kind of makes sense. The pieces kind of align in the sense that, like, of course, if they're building a new engine, they're busy porting over Earth. They're busy building Europa. They haven't had a chance to bring over this new dungeon. That's like they just made it for the season, But it's not being vaulted. There's no reason for it to be vaulted. It's brand new activity, but it's a lot of work to port something like that. So they probably need a season to do it. Because we're not getting the entire Cosmodrome. We're getting like pieces of it over time. We're getting like a big chunk of it now. And then they're going to add to the map over the next few seasons. They're going to add activities from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2 over the course of the year, not just immediately. So I think they're like working to port all of this stuff over.
I mean,
because
that makes sense.
I think because it was supposed to be Destiny 3, it was supposed to be a whole new game anyways. And so I think it's sort of like a ninja Destiny 3 that we're going to be getting.
I mean, you craft a good theory, my friend.
We'll see if I'm right. I don't know. It could be completely crazy, but I feel, you spend so much time with a company and following a company that you kind of build a certain sense for things,
Yeah.
And when they say certain things like we're removing content from the game to be able to take technological leaps forward, what is that? What else could technological leaps forward mean? And when you look at the ice effects, like go back and watch, we'll put it on screen right now, but the gameplay trailer for the Stasis gameplay trailer, which is the new power for Destiny 2 that's coming in, these like every little, so like you can freeze enemies and you can shatter enemies, but if you like pause the video at any point with all the chaos, every piece of ice that's shattering has like, every shard is like real in game. It's like real particles and real objects, real pieces of ice that are flying everywhere. It's like there's been nothing like that in the game so far, and then even in the beginning, when you watch the Guardians push the snow from under their feet out from deep snow. That's not something that was in Destiny 1. You would just have like a normal shallow footprint, that would
it's a little different now.
It would disappear in 15 seconds or whatever. But in this case, we immediately see that they're drawing like lines in the snow as they're walking through it. So I think they've got some shiny new toys. I think we're going to learn a lot more about it as the summer goes on, because that's the thing. We don't really know a whole lot about what we're getting in the fall. We just kind of been given the pieces, and we've been giving this sort of 3-year vision. But it remains to be seen sort of how it all comes together and what that actually looks like in game, what the features actually are.
So do you think that again, I'm kind of surrogating for I'm being the surrogate for people who are brand new or are trying to get into it and still can't find their footing. Is this the right time to come in?
I would say
during
absolutely.
all of this change.
Yeah, I would say the best thing you can do right now is the free version of Destiny, which is called New Light. Beyond Light is coming in the fall. It was supposed to come out in September, but it got delayed to November. So that gives you time to still enjoy the current season. It's still going to be going on. You can still jump in. It's essentially a prologue to what Beyond Light's story is going to be. So if you're interested to see how we're about to attain Darkness powers, it's happening right now.
Oh.
Yeah. It's happening week to
So
week.
basically, this is the best time ever to come into Destiny.
Yeah. Essentially, there's a new story beat that you get every week that we've gotten since the beginning of the season. And you can jump in, experience all that for $10, I think. You can get the free version, but if you want to experience the story of what's like happening in the season, I think you need the $10.
If you want the newer bits, you have to pay
the newer bits.
That's the season pass.
Yeah, it's $10. You don't need Shadowkeep. That's a misnomer. You don't have to own Shadowkeep to play Shadowkeep, if that makes sense. It's confusing because when you load up Destiny, it says Shadowkeep right there, right? You plus enter to play the game, but it's just Destiny. It's a free version of Destiny. Shadowkeep is the latest thing, so that's why it's going to show it to you. It doesn't mean that you have access to it necessarily. It doesn't mean that you should want it.
Really does the like WWE like puts a commercial for its own show in the game, like in the thing.
Exactly, it does that a lot. So just download, play it out. If it's something that you like, if you enjoy the controls, if you like the look of it, the feel of it. If you're seeing as you level up, if you're seeing that premium track of rewards look even more and more enticing, then $10 gets you that season pass, which gets you that reward path levels 1 to 100, reward a new piece of loot or whatever at every level, and it gets you all the story stuff for this season, and that'll set you up, I think, like narratively for what's going to be coming in Beyond Light. So like the first mission or whatever will like kind of make sense immediately because you're like, oh, I know Drifter, or, oh, I know Eris. We've met. You know, we've had a story
hands like
with
one
them.
time. You're like, hello.
Yeah, because the current story is with these two characters that are involved with Eris Morn and the Drifter, and they're two very shady, mysterious characters that have their ulterior motives, but of course they want what's best for humanity ultimately. So we're kind of exploring a little bit of the prelude of that story is happening right now with them, so you can kind of hear their back and forth and get a sense of their relationship before Beyond Light comes out.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Beyond Light, keep it simple. If you're sold on Beyond Light, do yourself a favor, just buy the $70 deluxe edition.
Whoa.
You'll be content complete. You won't have to ever worry
if you've got that kind of money burning a hole in your pocket,
Well, I mean, if you're looking at your next game, games are $60.
That's
if you
true.
got
That's
deluxe
true.
editions go up to $99, all this stuff. So if you're just looking at your next, AAA title or whatever that you want to throw some money at, you can try out this one for free. You get quite a lot of content, and then
if you want to invest, you invest.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about like people upset that it's free now.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very divisive topic. There's people who are like, well, I invested so much money into it. This person doesn't have to spend anything. That's not fair. My mentality with it is that, well, you played it for a year and a half. You experienced it new while it was happening, while it was relevant. Not that it's not relevant anymore, but
right.
To me, when they introduced New Light, I was so excited. Me, someone who's spent a ton of money on Destiny, like more than I'm comfortable like sharing.
We know, buddy. We know.
I was so excited because what it meant was the game that I loved can now be accessible by so many other players. And then same exact experience when they announced that they're going on Stadia, when they're going on Steam, when they introduce cross-save. All of that stuff just builds up the community and the player base. And in a selfish sort of top layer, that's going to make your PvP, matchmaking queues go by super instantly, because there's just more players. That's like the selfish reason. But for me, it's like,
course.
this game is awesome, and I love it, and I want it to succeed, and I want Bungie to make money so that they can afford to keep making it. And if they've determined that this is the right strategy and the right financial move to do it by making it free to play, making it accessible, making it feel more like Fortnite in the sense of like having fun and just silly cosmetics.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm hardly I caution to say that I'm super invested in Destiny. I'm a very casual player, but it is one of those things where it's like, especially now that they're now part of Activision, yeah, like it does suck that you paid more money in the past, but if more people, making it more accessible to more people means that more people might be interested in like supporting it more.
Right.
Like your game stays around, the lights stay on for longer because of that business decision.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where like you either support the creative company, the creative people that you want to support, or you decide you're done. And like I guess you're also done with the game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, the beautiful part about it is that, again, like the expansions are separate from the seasons. You know, there's a new season, there's 4 seasons a year. The expansion is a sort of self-contained campaign experience, and it's going to have its own activities. It's probably going to have like a raid that's attached to it, you know, they have to pay for. You know, it's part of it, you know, you don't have to pay extra for it, but it's part of that $40 package for Beyond Light. And then if you want to take the seasons a la carte, you can do it that way. For me, it's just easier. You just pay $70 and you have everything. You never have to think about it. And you get a bunch of extra stuff as well. Some extra cosmetics, some ornaments, skins, cool ships, things like that. Their deluxe editions have typically been pretty cool.
I mean, that's someone speaking from experience there. So
last couple ones have been nice.
Also some bias,
yeah. But like for like the Forsaken deal, I think it was around the same price, and you got a lot with that. And that's the thing. Like these you pay $10 for a Fortnite battle pass, and I play Fortnite. I like Fortnite. It's fine. But you get that path, and you get a few other things. With this, not only do you get something like that, but you also get a bunch of like premium content as well, and some more loot. And I don't know. It's always felt like it's well worth the money to me. I don't know, but maybe it's just, again, it's bias. I like the game a lot.
There's a little bit of bias leaking in there.
Yeah, so that's totally it. But as far as like what you're getting, like for your money, especially right now going into Beyond Light, like there's a ton of content. Even after they're removing these 4 planets, there's still going to be a crap load of content left behind.
There will still be an overwhelming amount of Destiny, even when they remove some of Destiny.
Right. So we'll see. I'm excited for Beyond Light. I'm excited
for Dark Powers.
I'm excited for Dark Powers.
Really excited for Dark Powers.
I'm excited to see what they're doing to evolve the quality of life experience of their game, as far as like the interfaces, the quest systems, you know, the economy of the game. As they get deeper and deeper into the MMO, those are the things that we're going to start seeing change and evolve and get deeper over time. So that's kind of exciting, you know?
I definitely get the sense that like they are very confident now.
Yeah. And
in what's coming. Like
right.
it would be one of those things where it's like, I don't feel as though a company that parted ways with Activision, became their own publisher, and lost, you know, development teams would be so loud about coming out with a bunch of content if they weren't 100% confident that, you know, they could deliver on it and then some.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the
so for
but you know, you're also holding it up a little bit of like, you better deliver on this hype though.
Right. So, you know, the proof is in the pudding, but all the signs are leading into the right direction. It's the first time in a long time that I think Bungie has an actual real vision for Destiny. You know, and I'll be interested to see if that continues into, you know, like a Destiny 3, or if they just kind of get their, you know, take everything they've learned into just a brand new franchise, which they might do.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a crazy thought.
Yeah.
Is that like...
They have a trademark.
Sorry?
They have a trademark for another intellectual property that they haven't done anything with. But they describe it as... or one of the job listings for it said that it has like RPG elements.
So, oh man, there's some. All right.
Yeah. The trademark is for the word matter.
Oh, what if that? I mean, what if that's our Destiny 3 that's actually an MMO?
That could be. But, you know, probably not a Destiny game, probably just a whole new world. Maybe a less intense, less story-driven world. More concentrated on player experience and fun. And just awesome, fun gameplay.
But that would also be, what, like a minimum of 3 years out from now, right?
Yeah. I mean, if they're the company that they think they are, they've already been working on it. They've been working on it for like a couple of years.
Probably so. That sounds about right.
Yeah, Destiny 1's development was 7 years long.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. Very long game development.
Well,
So,
it's one of those things where I guess we'll just have to see a little bit of a shrug. Like,
I'm excited. I'd be excited for either way, you know. I'd take more Destiny, and I would take, you know, a second game that's different, that took, where you can kind of know that they've taken, or you can feel that they've taken everything they've learned and applied it to a brand new space in a cool, exciting way. That sounds super exciting.
I mean,
I don't even care what it is.
fair.
You know, it could be Barbie Horse Adventure, the MMO. You know,
Barbie Horse Adventure, the MMO.
Yeah, it could be that.
I'd play it.
And I'd still play it. Because
Made
it's
by Bungie.
learning from Destiny. Yeah.
That game was great though. But yeah, for present world, I am excited to see, as casual Destiny player, what is going to come from all of this new content and how things are going to be handled. And on your end, what are the things you're most excited for?
I'm mostly excited for the Darkness powers.
Hell yeah.
I think they've shown off some pretty cool stuff, like the ability to create like platforms with your grenades.
What?
And like ice walls, and you can freeze opponents, and you can shatter opponents that are frozen.
Whoa.
Forget about their health bar; they're shattered.
Oh my
so
god!
That's kind of cool. I'm interested to see how the new subclasses are going to change up the flow of gameplay, because I think we're going to see maybe a little shift.
Probably more than a little. That's like
more ability play, which I'm very excited for. I love the ability play in Destiny. Like Warlock, the class you have.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing this one build that I've been working on, using, for those who understand, the top tree, Dawnblade.
Oh yeah.
With your floating.
I understand that reference.
Yeah, right. But I've been doing this build where basically I'm in the air the entire time, and I'm just like raining fire down on everything.
Good God.
And yeah, so abilities are fun when you can, you know, get them to a good place. So I'm excited for this subclass and for this element to have more ability play and more mechanics kind of built into it, you know, as opposed to it being like, imagine if like fire, like anytime fire was relevant, it would always have like a damage over time, or like electricity would always paralyze, you know. It doesn't, right? They're just kind of like colors for the most part. Like stasis has the power to like really be different, like actually change up mechanics of the game.
Huh.
So that'll be exciting.
Oh my gosh. There's I feel like I understand this game better, but it's also like there's just so much. But at this point, I kind of just want to play the game now.
Yeah.
I just want to play it.
Jump in and play, and you know, the game really does, they aim for it, and it really has achieved this sort of like place where you can make it your hobby. It's a hobby game. And you're like, well, what do I feel like doing? Jump in, play some Gambit, you know, work on your seal, work on your collection of guns, whatever you want to do.
I feel like if I could understand everything a little more, it might break my League habit.
You know,
maybe.
And that's what I was saying. Like we've pointed this out before too, that you have only played with me, right?
Right.
And
primarily.
And with Julie. You haven't played on your own a whole lot.
Right.
And I think in a weird way, in a social game right now, or at least just because of the way the game is built up right now, it's kind of crucial to play on your own for a little bit, just because you'll sit at a screen and stare at it for 10 minutes.
That's good to know.
To take it
actually.
all in. You know, like I do that. You know, I'll just sit at a terminal and like, let me read this. And I don't have to worry about, I'll be right there. Yeah, I'm just grabbing this. You know, you're not rushed.
Yeah, that's precisely, I think, what has kept me being casual is I'm used to hopping into a game like Overwatch or League of Legends, and you're just like, you go, and like there's no time to think. You kind of like, you already know what you're doing. If you mess up, you go back, you like sell an item or something, or you just switch out a character, and it's very kind of surface level. And this requires a lot more attention to be spent on your inventory, what you're looking at, where you're going, who are you talking to, like
exactly. What might be a good idea, maybe around the launch of the game of Beyond Light, Beyond Light, is maybe a little intro guide. Another like, because I have guides like that on the channel from before, but
from the before times,
they're not as relevant today.
So much has changed.
Maybe we'll update that.
I wouldn't be mad about it. It's gonna help me out too.
yeah. A little kind of like how to, like, what to do first, the best order of things to do as a new player.
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, but
okay,
that's up to you, good sir, good FutureFoe sir.
the FutureFoe.
The FutureFoe.
We didn't talk about that. They censored my name in Steam.
What?
For some reason, apparently this has been happening to a lot of players accidentally. I don't know why. But one day I logged in and FutureFoe was censored.
What?
So I had asterisks.
You naughty boy.
I know, right? So I changed it to the FutureFoe.
And now it's legal.
And now it's the FutureFoe. But apparently it's fixed, so I can go back and change it back to FutureFoe. Which I'm like, do I care?
Not so naughty anymore.
Yeah. So that was fun. So I am now the FutureFoe.
So proud. Man. Wow. Well,
yeah, hopefully that helps you make a little bit more sense of Destiny.
It does. And hopefully for those of you who are watching / listening to this right now, hopefully that gave you a little more context and information about what's going on. That's the whole reason that this conversation even happened. Was I figured if I was this confused about everything, other people probably were too. So hopefully this helps. And Ali, thank you for taking a good chunk of time to talk about this and lay it all out. I really appreciate it.
It's funny because we've been talking for like a good hour or so, and I could keep going for another hour if I needed to.
I think we'll get there. I think we'll come. We got a lot more to talk about, so we'll be back.
A lot more to break down. We haven't even touched on a lot of really interesting things, but we'll save that for another show.
Yeah, another day.
Another day. Another Destiny day.
Anyway.
Another Destiny channel. I mean, no, this Destiny channel. Stay. Subscribe, like, please do it.
Anyway. You guys know the drill. As always, nerd on.